EVs, electric vehicles, are going to be the death of the caravan industry. That's a bit of a doom and gloomy outlook on things, but that's what I've been hearing in some of the comments that I've been posting, especially on the last video where I did a kind of a prediction of what the caravan industry would look like in the future. And I missed out the EV issue because, well, two reasons really. I actually didn't think it was an issue, and I didn't know a huge amount about it. So because of the comments I've received in that last video and in several other videos as well, where EVs have been mentioned as an issue going forward with the caravan industry because of the difficulty in towing a caravan with them, I decided to do a little bit of research. Well, I say research, I had a look on YouTube, as everyone else does, and found some rather interesting videos by Andrew Ditton. He's got a really good playlist all about EVs and the trials and tribulations of owning one and actually touring around Scotland and then going down to Germany with one. So I'll put a link to those videos in the description down below. You've probably already seen them judging by the amount of subscribers he has, but I would have thought some people haven't seen them because of the comments in the comment section. If you had seen them, I think that you may not well have put in some of the comments that you did, because there is a really good kind of myth busting section in one of the videos. It really kind of goes into, you know, what the issues are and what people think the issues are and actually what reality is. Also, stay to the end of the video because I've done something interesting with his data. Well, I think it's interesting anyway, and I'll tell you how to get hold of that and what I've done with it. So the main theme about the videos were what it is actually like to own an EV and tour with it. And the overwhelming thing that I got from them, that it is an absolute nightmare to do. It's okay if you've got the time and the inclination to do it, but judging by some of the issues that Andrew had, then I would have said that, yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. I think you've got to be really committed to do this, this greener thing. And before you start typing on the keyboard saying about it not being green and that you plug in, and when you're plugging in you're burning coal to charge it up, have a look at his videos. That does dispel some of these myths. And I'm not going to say it's all roses at the moment, because there is, certainly there is a part of that, but it's getting better. So if you really are committed to the greener way of doing things and you really want to own an electric vehicle, and you have the time and the patience to plan the routes and kind of get around the issues that I'm going to be talking about in a second, then it is a good thing to do. But I think for the general person, if someone came into me now and said, I'm thinking about buying an EV, what do you think? I would say I personally wouldn't, but then that's up to them, obviously. And the main reason for this is just the sheer kind of, it's like a military operation to get from one end of the country to the other. And I know most people don't do that. You're kind of towing within a 200 mile range, but even then you've got around about 120 miles when you're towing a caravan, if you're lucky. And that was the thing I kind of got from the videos that Andrew was doing, was that he was talking about using window wipers and heating and headwind and all this kind of thing. And you think, crikey, you've got to start thinking about all those things when you're driving down the road, because that affects your battery charging and the temperature outside and all that kind of, and your battery range. So all those things you've got to start thinking about, where I can jump in my Range Rover and fill it up with a couple of 120 odd pound and do 250, 300 miles without not having to worry about, turning the radio on and off. That's where we are at the moment. So yeah, at the moment I would agree that, yeah, it would be the death of the industry if we were forced into getting the EVs that we have now with the infrastructure we got now. And that kind of leads me on to why I believe that it won't be the death of the industry, because like I just said, if you take a snapshot of where we are now with the technology that we've got with the electric vehicles and the infrastructure we've got, then yeah, I would agree it would be the death of the industry if we were forced into doing it by the government. I don't think we will be. They might well start taxing bigger vehicles a little bit more, because that's what they can do, and that's a way of getting more revenue in, rather than anything green that they actually want to do. So I don't think they're going to force us into doing it. They keep pushing the boundaries back, and I think the boundaries of not producing any diesel and petrol vehicles will keep moving back as the public kind of want it to. I think that the technology will be there. I think that the holy grail of electric vehicles is being able to plug in once a month or once a week even, and then having enough electricity to run your vehicle for the week, and maybe do 1 or 2 decent trips with the caravan without having to plug in again. Now that could be a holy grail that isn't achievable, but I think it probably is achievable, just the technology isn't there. And so when you then think about how technology works and what's happened over the past 20 or 30 years, even 40 years, technology always has a way of kind of doubling every few years at its rate. So I remember when I was first into computers, I had a Spectrum 48K, and you had to press a tape player and it kind of went like that, and it took 3 days to load a game. I've just uploaded the last version of Call of Duty on my PlayStation 5, and it's mind-blowing. I know that's quite a distance between the two, but from there I was always interested in the next thing, and every 2 or 3 years something else would come out. There's a thing called Moore's Law where it states that the amount of transistors in a circuit will double every year and become half in price as well, and that's still kind of going on. I don't know if you've bought a computer recently from an old computer, but I've just upgraded mine to do these videos, and I had a 5-year-old computer, and the technology has just gone on. It's just chalk and cheese compared to what it was back then. I look at the processing power now as to what it was, and it's just completely different. Same with mountain bikes. I'm into mountain biking. 5 years ago I went to get a new one. I looked at electric mountain bikes, but the technology just wasn't there. The battery wasn't that great. The spec wasn't that great for the cost of what they were, because I would have broken it pretty much going down a hill. Fast forward 5 years and I've kind of got one by accident. I traded one in, tried it. I still had the previous version in my mind, think, oh, they're no good. Then I got on this thing, and it's again just completely mind blown by the battery, the speed of it, how it charges, how good it is going downhill. And that was in 5 years in the mountain biking industry, and it was from Gen 1 battery to Gen 4. We've now gone to Gen 5, which is even smaller and more powerful, and it will just keep on going. So that's where I think the electric vehicles will be. I've already had someone yesterday who said that they bought one. This is a third, and the transition from their first one to this third one, again, it's a quantum leap between what he had then and what he's got now, and that is going to carry on going. The infrastructure now is it is inadequate. They are doing things to address that. I spoke to someone today, and they said that they're starting to have dedicated caravan charging points, so you don't have to unhitch your caravan. And this is one of the main things Andrew said in his videos, was that you can't charge your car up with the caravan attached. You have to unhitch it somewhere else and leave it to the mercy of someone, and then go around and charge your car up. And sometimes you can't even get back to your caravan because it's a one-way system on the motorway services. So you have to really kind of double check that you can get back to that caravan when you've left it. All those kind of things just make it such a pain. But again, obviously when the infrastructure kind of catches up and people start buying more EVs, they're going to have to build this thing in. But if the technology kind of goes to the point where I think it's going to go, then the infrastructure isn't going to be quite so important, because again, if you can charge up by plugging in at home for, you know, and you can last a month or even a week, then you're not going to need the infrastructure driving around to be able to have to plug in. So that's why I think the infrastructure might be there, but you might not need it, but it depends on the rate of quickness of how they kind of get to this holy grail of batteries. We have solid state batteries coming along. I just saw a thing now about China that they've produced a solid state battery, and there's lots of companies working on that. And that's, I think, the difference between where we are now and where we're going to be, because there's some significant amount of funds and time and energy is going into this, finding this holy grail. Because if one company does it, then they're going to be able to sell that system to everyone else. And there is some serious money being put into this, and I think with when people can make money out of something and there's enough need for it, it will happen. And I think you can imagine what Toyota and, you know, Hyundai and all these people are ploughing into this to actually get these electric vehicles to where we want them to be as the public. They know what it needs to be, and that's where they're trying to get to. So I think By the time it gets an issue, maybe 10 years time, my vehicle now I could certainly keep for 10 years and not have to worry too much about it. So I think, 10 years time we're looking at the vehicles being okay and certainly different to what they are now. So the electric vehicle thing and towing might not be an issue. I think the reason I didn't mention it is because I think we've got bigger issues than the electric car issue, with people wanting to caravan, and the trust that we have in the manufacturers and the ability for them to produce a product that we're happy with in the price range that we want it in. They might not be able to do it. That's what I'm thinking is that in the future it's going to be outpriced, and we're going to be relying on the pre-owned market, which isn't a problem. I was a bit worried about the market dying out, but I've had 3 people in the last few days that are below 30 with young children that are dead keen to get into it. So I'm kind of buoyed up a little bit by that. I think it's not going to die out like it was, like all the predictions were, where the grey market was the caravanners, and we haven't got a younger market coming through, but I'm pretty sure we have. So that's where I think we are with the electric vehicles, and I don't think there's going to be an issue going forward. I think we're going to be fine, or they're just not going to be pushed on us as much as we think they're going to be pushed on us. If the technology isn't there and the willingness to be able to have a normal vehicle which we can just fill up once a week like we do with our vehicles and not have to worry about putting on the electric aircon and all this kind of thing, that's where we need to be. It needs to be able to do the same thing as our diesel cars do now, and it will get there, and I'm not too worried about that in the future. Like I said, I think there's bigger problems we have to worry about. So as always, it'll be interesting to see what you think. This might be a bit of an emotive topic with the EVs, but you need to watch Andrew's videos on the bit of the myth busting to kind of get to the point where you can talk about it with all the information you need. As I said at the beginning of the video, what I've done is I've taken all the data from Andrew's videos and I've put them into an AI assistant, so you can ask it questions rather than, I mean, I'd recommend watching the videos, don't get me wrong, watch them all, but if you then think, oh, what did he say about that, you can go to the link that's in the descriptions below and just type in how much does it cost to charge up a electric vehicle, or what are the myths of electric vehicles and things like that, and it will come up, and you can have kind of ask it more things and have a conversation with it. So it's just a little bit of an easier way of finding out the information rather than watching all the videos over again. So that's just a little bit of fun, really. I just enjoy making those kind of things. So click on the link and then have a look at it. It's on my website, Atlantic Caravans, and you can ask it whatever you like about EVs. If it isn't in there, then I'll keep an eye on it and I shall populate the bot with some more answers if you're asking questions that I haven't thought of. But I put most of the big myths in there. I've kind of scoured the website and put the actual facts in there, so ask it what you like, and then that would be interesting to see what you think about that as well. So again, do all the normal things, like, subscribe and share this video. It would be interesting to see what you think, like I just said, and hopefully it might have put everyone's minds at ease a little bit if I'm right. I mean, again, I always say this, I'm no expert in it, I could be completely wrong and talking absolute rubbish, and only time will tell. It would be interesting to look back on this video in 5 years time and see where we are with it. If we're at the same place, I'd be completely gobsmacked, because technology just doesn't work like that. It always goes forward, and it goes forward at an exponential rate as well. So with the computing power that we've got now with this AI stuff, and then quantum computers coming along, each time we have better computing power, it can solve bigger problems quicker, because you just feed it what you want it to know, what you want to know, and it comes out with all the data. So that big data thing is a really big thing for me, and I think we're going to be able to learn a lot using these new computer models, because the processing power is just getting huge, and that's why I think that we're going to be able to solve these problems with the help of the AI and the new computers that are coming along. So I waffled on again then. Yeah, see you on the next video, and we will see how we get on with this EV conversation.